yeah, we've done a partnership with LDC to bring some of our indie brands to their marketplace, and here we are to talk about kind of the part 2 of our seminar, and I'll hand over to you, Rebecca, to kind of take over and take it away. But if anyone has any questions, do pop it in the chat, or I'll put our Instagram too, and you can drop me an email or a message.
Great, thanks so much, Sam. That was a great intro. Welcome. It's lovely to see so many faces. We've got a nice small group, which is always good. Great for these workshops. So yes, as Inez and Sam has said, my name is Rebecca, and I'm the founder and CEO of Lone Design Club. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to jump in with a little presentation, which I'm going to share on my screen in one moment. Before we kick off, please do any kind of what you're looking to kind of get out of the session, any burning questions, any pressing kind of takeaways that you'd love to get from this. I would love if you could pop into the chat box. Do also feel free to introduce yourself. As Inez said, please put your Instagram handle in, anything about your brand. The more information we have, the more information we can learn from you all, and the more questions or what you're looking to get out of it. But that'd be amazing. And essentially what I'm going to do is do about 30-ish minutes. I do tend to ramble, so someone may have to pull up the old clock and say hurry up and shut up, and that's fine. But then we'll kind of go into hopefully around at least 20 minutes of questions. We've got a lovely small group, so I'm hoping we can keep it quite conversational and casual. So if there is anything that comes up that's relevant to what I'm talking about at the time, I'm more than happy to answer questions as we go. So do feel free, if there is something kind of burning, just even pop it in the chat box. Inez can interrupt me, or just go off mute. Totally fine. It's such a small group. This is absolutely fine. Cool. Okay, so I'm gonna kick off. I'm just going to share my screen. Right, here we go. No, not that one. View, present. Okay, while it's loading, here we go. Okay, cool. So, as I said, my name is Rebecca, and what I'm going to do is give you a super quick kind of overview of myself, and kind of why I'm here, I guess, how I'm here. And what we're doing at LDC before I kick off into essentially the topic of today's discussion, which is making the most of physical retail, particularly for independent brands. Now more than ever, this is such an incredible time, and the opportunities out there are endless. So I would love to be able to essentially give you a bit of a go-to-market strategy of how you can make the most of physical retail. So my story, so I'm actually trained in luxury and design. So women's wear design was what I studied. It's where I trained. I worked with people like Alexander Wang, Simone Rocha, various luxury houses, and also commercial at John Lewis. So very much from the design side, not from retail and not from business. This has all been a very exciting learning curve over the past few years. When I was working as a designer, I ended up launching my own brand. I was very lucky. The people I was working with in the industry, various celebrities, and the British Fashion Council offered me to showcase at Fashion Week. Like many brands at the time, in 2015, I launched my brand and I went down the traditional route of wholesale. And wholesale can be a great route to market. But what I discovered was this incredible other part, which was direct to consumer. And just the endless opportunities and how you can learn from that customer by getting in front of them and building a business organically and sustainably based on their feedback, what customers really want, what they're going to part with the cold hard cash that they've earned. So basically my journey really for LDC began after I'd done a couple of years at Fashion Week. We went to Paris Market Week. We did various kind of trade shows and sales, focusing on wholesale. And then just realized the industry was changing so much. In 2018, House of Fraser and Debenhams started to report losses. There was a lot of cracks in the high street. And I think it became clear at this point that the traditional high street was changing. The way customers bought and consumed was changing, and the way brands could get to market there needed to be a new route. So prior to that, I'd started experimenting with pop-up stores, which is where this crazy photo is from. This is actually the first pop-up store I ever hosted. I don't throw this image around often because this is a much younger version of me with a very makeshift store. It was a frozen yogurt shop on Brick Lane. I don't even know if it's still there, but this is back in 2016 Christmas time. And we had no money, like many designers starting out, totally skint, really trying to grow our brand. So wholesale was tough. You know, you're getting discounts left, right, and center. Using wholesale alone can be a really challenging model. It's great, but it can be really hard, especially in the beginning. And we just were like, we need to make some cash. We really just need to make cash, and we need to know more about our customer. So we did all the furniture ourselves in this crazy shop, and we opened the doors with about 10 other brands that were facing the same challenges of getting in front of their own customers. And it was amazing. You know, we were selling for cash flow. It was great. Customers were coming in. They wanted to meet us, the designers behind the brands. They wanted to know that transparency. They wanted to know our story. And we wanted to share it. You know, that was the beginning of very loyal relationships. I have customers to this day that come to LDC stores that I met in this first store ever that are now some of our VIP, recurring clients that will come to almost every pop-up store we do. Because for them, it's about the experience. It's about that discovery. They want to know the people behind the brand, where we manufactured, why, what was our inspiration, who are we as people. They want to know that they're supporting much more than just a transaction. You know, they're conscious of where their money goes. So fast forward from this, we're now taking over, playing with my screen, but we're now taking over spaces in central London, Italy as well, and China. We're now really focusing on growing this lean, agile retail model. And essentially pop-up stores are a huge focus for Lone Design Club. We're now, some of these photos, as you can see, these are pop-up stores that we've hosted with over 30 brands per store across Longacre, which is the image down on the right, is in Central Covent Garden for Fashion Week in 2019. Yes, they are pre-COVID, of course. But we're, you know, as I'm going to speak about today, getting back to this, if not even more, in this accelerated movement in physical that we're seeing, which is super exciting. You know, this is what we're going to be hosting towards the end of the year, and which I think all brands, whether it's with us or other forms of physical retail, where I really encourage you to start exploring. And then, of course, the image on the left is on Sloane Street, which we were so excited to be between Chanel and Valentino, an opportunity that now and post-pandemic is going to be super possible for so many brands, but pre-COVID just wasn't. So I'm really excited about the accessibility and inclusivity we're going to see from the high street, especially. So a quick bit about LDC for those of you who don't know. So essentially what we do is we help conscious brands that have an emphasis on sustainability, ethics, and social responsibility. We help connect them to conscious consumers around the world. Pop-up stores where we started, this idea of lean, agile retail. I'm going to talk a lot more about pop-up stores in general, not ours, but just how you can maximize on pop-ups. We also have an e-commerce platform, and we really focus on sustainability and helping brands not only integrate this more into their businesses, but highlighting it as a unique selling point and knowing how and where to use it in conversations with customers. Content services, data and insight, you know, our Accelerator series that Inez spoke about earlier. And I can't see this last one because of my little boxes, but brand building support tools and webinars. So we do a lot of these masterclasses. And essentially what we're really trying to do is support small brands or any brand, and to be a one-stop shop to get them to market. You know, the opportunities in D2C are huge. And if you can understand your brand right, you can understand your customer, and you know who you're targeting and what you're focusing on, there is a huge amount of growth and a huge amount of opportunity for any brand. So really for us, it's about approaching retail in a whole new way, being much more lean, agile, physically and digitally. So basically what we're here to talk about today is how we can maximize on physical retail post-pandemic, specifically for independent brands, not necessarily small, but just looking at the opportunities that are out there today and how the physical retail side is going to be, how there is so much opportunity. You know, I hear probably once a week, oh, it's all doom and gloom on the high street, no one's ever going back there. Rubbish, absolute rubbish. And I'm going to tell you why in a moment. It was booming pre-pandemic if you knew what you were doing, and it's going to be booming post-pandemic. And we're in a really exciting opportunity where the whole high street is going through a reinvention. So what we're going to talk about is super quick how the pandemic has affected retail. We're going to look at some of the positives for independent brands specifically, because there are a lot. This is a great time. And we're going to look at different types of physical retail opportunities. And then what I want to finish with is how to maximize It's really great jumping on an opportunity, but there's so much more to it, as I'm sure everyone's aware, than just turning up at a store or just, getting those keys. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what we've seen at LDC over the past kind of 3 years officially at LDC, but I essentially have about 6 to 7 years experience in physical retail, from my own brand to Lone Sign Club. And across these years, I've seen a lot of do's and don'ts. And then how to maximize, because this is the other thing. You're not just opening a shop, or you're not just taking a space. There's so many incredible things that come with this that you can do to maximize that time. It's not just about sales. They're obviously important, but there's a lot more to jump on. So we're going to go through those as well. Hopefully all within the next kind of 20, 25 minutes, but we'll see. Okay, so just to kick off, I think just, kind of painting the picture of where we're at as an industry. This really is a heavily disrupted time for retail, online and offline. Yes, there's a lot of talk that online is booming and that this is kind of where all the emphasis is. It is, but it's still in its infancy. A lot of digital is still very gimmicky. A lot of businesses this past year really just focused on getting their foundations right. No one was ready for the pandemic that hit. E-commerce is still very much in its early stages. There's still, 1 in 3 items get returned. That's huge. That doesn't mean we've nailed it. That just means that there's demand, but there's so much further to go to get digital right. And over 62% of online sales are lost because of bad shopping experience. It's major. There's just so much space to grow here, which is exciting, but also why there's still so much opportunity in physical retail. Pre-pandemic, the reason we saw so much opportunity is you need a space to come see, touch, and feel these products before you buy. If the customer doesn't know your brand name, they're not going to feel as comfortable just shopping online. They want to come and see that credibility. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then, of course, this increase in sustainability, which is one of the positives that we're going to talk about a little bit later on as well, and how this increase really is putting smaller brands, especially if you've built this into your business, which I would hope all of you have, and this is going to become more and more important. And it's something you have an advantage over the bigger players. And 16% of shops are vacant. This was actually a statistic, it's potentially a little bit old now, so it could even be higher. But this was when I was doing some research for something else a couple of months ago. And obviously this is something that is just going to increase. We've all seen Debenhams, we've all seen John Lewis cutting back stores. There is a lot of vacancies out there, but this is good. This is good. The dinosaurs are moving out, and this means there's space and opportunity for smaller brands to take that space. So essentially how the high street has changed during the pandemic. And I put changing because it hasn't just changed, it's going to continue to change. This is just going to continue now, and it's going to continue for the next few years. It is not something that's done yet. There's more and more empty units. We've all walked past these empty stores. There's still a lot more to come. Don't think that when you walk down the high street, that's it. There are more and more coming. We've got quite a few units in central London, and a lot of landlords are having very difficult conversations with tenants right now. Customers are focusing on experience. The high street isn't dead, but it is focusing more on discovery, not distribution. And I think this is a really key part, is that the reason these dinosaurs and these bigger stores are vacating is because they were focusing on transaction. Pre-pandemic, and I believe this is back into 2018, when I sat down and incorporated Lone Sign Club. It was in Somerset House with a couple of business mentors, and we had this conversation about, the community that we're growing at LDC of brands and customers. This is exciting. Why are we growing, but all of these other big traditional stores are reporting losses? Why are they showing cracks? Because they were focusing on a transaction. No one wants to walk into a store nowadays just to buy something. You want to go in because it's excitement, it's the entertainment, it's about discovery, it's about finding something different. It's not just about that transaction. And that's what online is for. Yes, this is going to evolve, but for now, probably at least the next 5 years, this is the mix that we're looking at anyway. But it's all the more reason why digital and physical need to work harmoniously together. They both have a place, they just need to be used in the right way. Shop small and support local. We're going to talk about this because I think this is super exciting and something that we've really seen across the pandemic, a real positive for smaller brands. Agility and leanness of business. Again, as a small business, you can pivot, you can be agile, you can pull back, and you can really push at your own pace. These bigger stores, these dinosaurs, I know I keep calling them, they can't do that. And that's something to really use to your advantage. Agility and accessibility, inclusivity and accessibility, which we've spoken about a little bit. You know, like I said, pre-pandemic, we were lucky that one time in May 2019 to take a space between Chanel and Valentino. That was not easy. That was a real tough negotiation with those landlords to let us do that. And I think this is exciting because we're going to see more and more of this. The high street isn't just these bigger players anymore. It's now it's being evened out. You know, smaller players, smaller businesses can take these prime spaces. You know, your businesses are lean, you're agile, you can move, you can maximize on these opportunities. These bigger companies can't. So this is one of the most exciting things that I'm looking forward to. Fashion sustainability crisis. Again, we're going to talk about this, but there is opportunity here, and you're all small businesses, and I would expect and hope you all have this built into your companies, your policies. Of course, you can't do everything, but you can focus on one thing and do that well. And this is more important than ever right now. And I think the final line, you know, and I think this is for me something that's been gradually happening over the past you know, kind of 5 to 8 years of me having my own business, is too many people thought, you know, especially when it comes to wholesale boutiques and publications, thought that they were dictating what people bought. It doesn't work like that anymore. The customer parts with their cash, they are king. It's the customer's decision. And social media has just fueled the ability for individualism. We don't want to look like a magazine. We don't want to look like a Topshop window. That's why Topshop bit the dust. We want to be individuals. And as brands, we need to respond to what customers want. So I've thrown this in here. These are actually a couple of little stories that I screenshotted from A Pair Hair's Instagram. If you don't know, A Pair Hair do short-term spaces. We work with them often. They're great. But what I thought was super fascinating are the responses. There's a lot of talk right now, and I'm curious to see if anyone agrees with these here, but I've seen a lot of talk in the media. E-commerce is booming, everyone's sales are up, it's so great. But reading this and seeing this and speaking to smaller brands, yes, there are positives, but it's not like it's changed our businesses for good and we're suddenly only about online. And I think these responses really show that, yes, it's great, the movement we're going in, and yes, there are positives, but it's by no means does it mean that we forget physical and it's all about digital. These results actually show that we're just not what we had pre-COVID. People aren't making the same amount of money. People are desperate to get back to physical. You know, some people's online sales have now decreased with stores opening. There is this huge disruption and disparity out there. So I saw this and I thought, this is really fascinating. And this is what we're really seeing as well. And I think especially for small businesses, if you are focusing on e-com, it'd be interesting to have a look at your data and your metrics and see what you've actually seen. Is this true for you or is it not? Because yes, we've all seen this e-commerce boom, but whether or not it's actually better than what it was pre-COVID across the board or not, I think is another question. I also like the fact that they throw in about live shopping. This is really interesting and something we're going to talk a little bit more about later as well, because I think it's crucial to start considering reaching global customers using physical spaces. So from chaos comes opportunity. You know, obviously this has been a really, really tough year, but as small brands, we are in a really great place. It has been tough. I'm not going to lie. Everyone has faced incredible challenges and it has been completely unforeseen. You know, it's been awful across the board, but there are some positives. And I think as small businesses, this is the time to really focus on these, maximize them and to grow, because you're in an incredible position now to take advantage of this disruption. So sustainability and transparency. There is so much increased awareness. People are shopping consciously. Education and action have never been where they are now. You know, over 80% increase in searches for sustainable fashion alone in 2020. This is surely increased now. Again, this is a stat from a couple of months ago. 15.2 billion is the value of the sustainable ethical fashion market by 2030. And this is growing at a good, fast rate. This is good. And I think this is something that we really saw LDC as being probably the number one or the biggest aspect of change or increase that customers, the conversations, the press, media, everything, this real sense of awareness that actually shit, you know, fashion this is really bad. And customers are really serious about it now. And I just think for all you small brands out there who I know the majority, or I think all of you, I'm saying majority just in case, but I'm assuming it's everyone, or it's everyone we work with anyway. And I know that it Curate as well. So, but this is good. This is positive. And the more that you can own and hone your space when it comes to what you're focusing on, and say sustainability and transparency, the better off you're going to be. In terms of community support, I'm sure everyone can agree with me as well. You know, people got out in droves to support their local pubs, their local boutiques, their local cafes. People have realized that there are actually humans behind businesses, and actually small businesses are the ones that will go out of business unless that support is there. This puts you guys in such a great position that people really are caring about those products and where they're from. They want to know those stories. They want to know the stories behind these brands, and they want to support. The amount of campaigns that have been set up, all of this is positive and really put small businesses at the forefront of being able to reshape retail for the better. This is definitely the time for you guys to take advantage and to grow your brands. This is a little quote that I do like. The COVID-19 crisis will cause 5 years change to high streets in less than 12 months. We've 100% seen that. And this pace is just going to continue. The high streets are completely changing. And like I said earlier, the biggest change, or what we are seeing anyway, is it's about discovery, not distribution. Don't take a shop and expect it to just be a transactional, you know, you just got a cash register and you're just selling an item. You know, it might work for a bit, but what you've really got to focus about is this discovery. This is a touch point to bring customers in, bring them into your lifestyle, your dream, what you're creating, share your stories. That relationship will build such a deep customer loyalty. You know, you're building that lifetime value, which is just crucial. Use it well with digital, and you can honestly harness, you know, huge amounts of power. You'll be growing your business fast in the right way and lean, and making decent margins. So in terms of opportunities that we're going to talk about, I'm just going to check on time. Okay, I need to hurry up. So in terms of opportunities, I'm going to talk a little bit about pop-up stores. I'll talk a bit about how LDCs work. The way that's done can be, you can apply it to anything. There are other companies out there, you can do it yourself, but it's my kind of take on how pop-up stores can be super successful. Experience-driven customer-focused events are super key. And I think for me, this would be the first starting point if you hadn't dabbled with physical retail at all. You know, whether it's doing an evening in someone else's shop, inviting a bunch of customers down, a kind of focus group style event that's creating an experience. Start with that. We're going to talk a little bit about window shops, which we're doing a lot of right now and seeing some really exciting results. And then I'm not going to talk about this, but I did think it's good to throw out there. Concessions and shared permanent spaces. You can take spaces in stores now. You know, taking concessions. I think the key here is that if you've got your digital and your e-commerce and you're serious about growing at D2C, you can drive, obviously you're driving traffic to the e-commerce, but you can drive to the physical to give a much better customer experience. You'll get higher upsell opportunities. You'll essentially build a much deeper relationship with customers. You'll sell more products. There's just so many benefits we're going to talk about, but I do think they're a good one to kind of bear in mind. So, and I like wholesale. I don't have anything against wholesale, but I think this is a really interesting quote that I saw from Fast Company. I don't think it's as drastic as this at all, but I do think it is important to realize just how much change is coming and what we're going through. You know, department stores were the original retail startups. Now they're headed for the graves. I do believe they will prevail, but in a different shape or form. And it's all changing. And this is, again, why getting into physical retail now and being at the forefront of these new game changers is crucial. Get in now with smaller businesses that are going to completely change and disrupt the future of what the high streets look like. And just bear this in mind. This is a hugely disrupted time. Great time to jump on physical, experiment, and see how it could work for you. So why and why now? We've talked a little bit about this. Future is digital and physical combined. You'll get an increase in customer lifetime value by using physical retail. Engagement, upsell, and experience. These are all the reasons why we love physical. Digital is great, but it is tough. Returns are higher. You don't have the ability, right, to just, so in a shop, you walk into a store as a customer. If you have great sales associates, you won't leave. They won't let you because they're so good and they're bringing you into their world, this journey. They're sharing the story of the store. They're telling you about the products. You're being told so much incredible information. You're being, brought around the store on a great journey. You'll be able to touch products. You can see them. You can try things on. You're immersed in something. How do you do that digitally? It's really, really, really hard. Hence why there are so many returns. We're paying so much for customer acquisition, and ads are only increasing. This isn't going to change. It's going to go up. I think I saw something the other week that actually we're going to look back on this period and think, wow, that was cheap. That what we paid, PPC, Facebook and whatnot, that was really cheap because it is going to soar. And I think this is where you can be really strategic and use physical as a way to acquire customers without spending on those ads. You can also, once you brought them into the store, you've got the ability to to share with them your story, everything, and turn them into a customer. It's really hard to do it digital. I do believe we will see advancements here, but when I say gimmicky, that's where I think right now it's gimmicky. I don't know anyone doing that well, apart from live stream shopping, but then in the West, it's still tough. We're going to talk about it a bit, but this is what I mean when I say digital is gimmicky. And using digital and physical together, it is super, super important in how you can drive serious business growth. Upsell is really interesting. And we'll talk about this a bit more, but we see upsell as one of the most important parts of a pop-up and increased conversion rate. Customers are 60 to 80% more likely to buy from really great experience and also from the storytelling of the person or of the maker in the store. Hence why we encourage our designers to be in pop-up. The results they can get are so much higher, and you're getting an engagement. That shopper will, they'll follow you on Instagram. Again, this is the role of the seller to encourage, like, follow us, keep in touch, send us photos when you've worn the item. All of this that digital just sends an email for, that's easily dismissed. But that personal relationship is so key to developing lifetime value and that customer relationship. It's also super cost effective, and there's a lot of customer pent up demand right now for physical. It hasn't reached its peak. Personally, what we've always anticipated is April and May being quite quiet. A lot of people still aren't out shopping yet. June onwards is when I think we're going to see this big boom, and people are going to really start feeling like they can spend. They're going to feel much happier to get outside. They're going to want to spend money to socialize and be with friends, and want that entertainment and that discovery from the high street. So I think now is a really great time to start thinking about physical. So in terms of our pop-up stores, so the reason I love pop-up, and look, we do 2 or 3 of these a month. I think they are fantastic. I don't want a permanent store. I get asked it a lot. I don't know how to make it work. I don't know how to make it exciting enough. And I'll be honest about that. But a 2-week store with 30 brands, with over 8 events in those 2 weeks, with guaranteed footfall in a great location, with lots of PR and marketing buzz because we've been able to tell people we're just opening up, that works. And that means we get great results. It's enough time for a brand designer or someone from the team to be in store a couple of times a week for you to build those relationships, to get that feedback on your products. But essentially, we can harness that united audience. Everyone involved is marketing, everyone is promoting. We get this a lot where a brand will say, oh, but I always market to my customer. They're sick of hearing from me. And the whole point is, well, if you do it and you're able to bring them down, even though they've bought from you, what about one of the other brands who's super similar alignment? They've got the same network. This is where cross-marketing and that cross-audience opportunity is huge. Don't try and preach to a random customer. Go out there and try and bring people who already like your brand, already in your world, because they will be interested in the other products, other brands in the room. So really focusing on uniting that reach and that audience to maximize not only on the exposure of the store or of the event, but on on the right kind of people coming in, which is really key. Pop-up stores are a call to action. They're a sense of urgency. Again, we're opening now, come on down, come to the launch, come to an event, and then we're about to leave, get down before we're gone. It's also a really good reason of why people will buy in store, because they know it's here today and it's gone tomorrow. So these are the main reasons why we've always seen great results, and we love pop-up. It shouldn't also say 60 to 50% increase in conversion. I added that really quickly before we did this. It's actually 80%, so completely ignore that bit. but my quick typing mistakes. And then the last thing that I love, which is actually one of the reasons why I started doing pop-ups in the first place, is you get to meet your customer. This is so, so important. The amount of times that we spent when I first launched my brand back in 2015, you sell to a store, right? You send your products off. You don't know who that customer is. You get a spreadsheet back. You get maybe a little bit of random feedback, but they don't really know. So you're just designing and creating based on what you think, your own vision. And that's okay if it works. But in this day and age where the customer is king and you have to be responding and you've got a hugely saturated market of competition, you need to know why a customer is going to come and buy from you. What do they like? What don't they like? Is it the fit, the material, the color? What works and what doesn't? And almost approach it like A/B testing. This is where you can use physical retail to your advantage. You could launch a new collection with a couple of minimal pieces. Do people like it? Is it worth me actually investing on building out this collection and producing it or not? What is that relationship to a customer? Are they connecting with the story and the product? Is the fit wrong? Is there a huge amount of interest, but your prices are just too high? What is it? And that's where we've seen so much incredible results, where brands are able to actually learn and be like, wow, okay, people love my product, but it's not selling because the price points are too high. I need to rethink my structure, my strategy here. Or, wow, I didn't think that piece would sell. This is what we get the most, is certain things will just sell like hotcakes. And the designer's like, why? It's probably my least favorite piece. And it's just like, you're learning so much about the customer that you just don't get unless you can be there and be in front of them. And I always encourage everyone with physical, don't be afraid to be in the store, talk to the customer, ask them questions. This is how you're going to get the most feedback. Now I'm going to talk a little about window shops. This is something new that we've done. And it's been super interesting and we've just seen really incredible results. Another way that you can use physical, so you don't have to have a fully open manned store. And I think we're going to see more of these as things accelerate and as we kind of move through or out of COVID, there's more ways to use physical retail in different ways. What we started doing is putting QR codes and shoppable windows in. As you can see in these spaces, these are literally just stores that we've put products in, we've put QR codes, we've told stories on the windows, and the results have been really interesting. Cardiff in particular, which we did, we've done a third round now actually. When we first did it, we saw over 100% increase in site traffic from Cardiff area. It shot up to being I think it was within our top 5 visited locations. We never had a customer there. We never thought we did. We're now opening a pop-up store in August because of this, and people are buying through the windows. Your average online conversion rate is around 2%. If you're great, or you're like ASOS, or like, you'll have up to 3%. That's it. 3% conversion. The windows are seeing over 6% conversion rate. Farringdon as well as another one of our top ones we have now. And it's incredible. It's because people can see the products in the window. They're able to build trust with a brand. They're able to see something. Again, I talk about the gimmicks of digital. Imagery still isn't at a level yet that people necessarily feel super comfortable shopping with online. It needs so much digital storytelling. This is another way that physical can really support and show great results. Events and experiences. I wanted to highlight this. So I did say that if you're not, I think the big thing with physical retail is like you can join a multi-brand store, do your own pop-up store, even take your own space. There's major opportunities in all of these, as we've touched on. But before that, I do recommend everyone just dip your toe with an event or an experience. You're engaging small groups of people. Treat it like a focus group. Use it as an upsell opportunity. We do a lot of these in the LDC stores where we'll do private shopping nights. We just go out to our best customers and say, look, you want to come with a bunch of girls or a bunch of friends? We'll get some bubbly, some canapes, whatever's up their alley. And they just come and they shop and they love it because they're getting that personal experience. And we get better information on them. What brands did they connect with? What products they connect with? We can start to really understand and give a much more personal and deeper experience to each of the guests. And this is only going to increase post-pandemic, is that personal service. But for you as a brand, it's a really low cost, low resource way to get in front of customers and to start getting that feedback and seeing if physical is right for you. 80% of LDC customers actually started their journey by attending an event. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. And it's something that we stand by, is how important events are in general. When I say a pop-up store, I do also include that as an event. We run, so we'll have over 8 events per pop-up. There'll be like a women's networking night, panel discussion, a workshop, whatever. Or there'll be the store itself as an event. And 80% of customers that have shopped with us historically started their journey or their shopping journey, as in they've like actually paid, purchased via e-com or in store from an event, which is huge. And it tells you the importance of that discovery. So maximize, I know I'm going over, I'm going to be really quick now. So get to know your customer. I cannot stress this enough. Get in front of the customer, get that feedback, test new products. You can do product launches, whatever it is, but you've got to develop that customer community stickiness. Get in front of your customers and find out what it is about your product. Learn about your brand and of course sell, but knowing that customer is absolutely essential in this day and age. Hone and focus your USP. This is another reason that I love getting in front of customers. And I think it's so important for all brands out there to try physical, is you're in a store, you've got people coming in. What makes your brand different? Why is a customer going to choose your brand over somebody else's? This is absolutely essential to any growing business. You know, you can't, it's so saturated out there. Sam, I remember your talk, I think you said 13,000 businesses started in the last year alone. This is only going to increase. You know, if we look at the 2008 recession, there was a huge surge in entrepreneurship. This is going to happen and is happening again. More and more businesses are coming out of this. You have got to give yourself a differentiation, a point of difference, and use that. Don't do everything. Focus on one thing. Just one thing, but do it so well. Know why it's different. Make that experience memorable. Learn about your customer and why that works, and double down on it. So I did say we're going to talk about live stream shopping. When you've got a space or whatever you decide to do when it comes to physical, don't just expect the store. Don't just think, okay, this is sales and meeting a customer. There are so many things you can do in that store. I'm a massive advocate for, if you're doing, whether it's a 2-week store with us, or you're taking your own space, or you're just doing it with somebody else, do everything you can. Host an event in there to give a better experience and to bring some customers in. Bring press down, bring influencers in, meet people that are going to be able to see you in person and build that relationship. I had a talk from a guy, a LinkedIn guy a while ago, and the quote that what he said was, build the network you'll need tomorrow, not today. And I just think that's really important. You might not need, or you might be really focusing on sales right now, but you are at some point going to need a lot of people behind you. You're going to need all these press contacts. You're going to need relationships to help. It's so true. So use the space, bring people in, meet them, have these conversations. And this is why I'm talking about live stream shopping. At the moment in China, next year, it'll drive over 20% of all e-commerce sales. That's huge. Live stream's been around for a long time, but use the store, use the physical space you have to reach global shoppers. We do it already on social media. We're putting stories up of the stores, the different, customers coming in, someone trying something on. Use that space and maximize, go wider, reach people all over the world. Live stream shopping. We're doing a lot of it at the moment, where we're doing it with designers and with the team, and people are buying. There is so much in it. You don't just go to a website and look at a 2D product. You're able to see somebody try on the product, hold it up. You can ask questions. The opportunities are endless here, and you're reaching global customers, not just passers-by. And even, on top of that, the marketing and the awareness it brings to your social and your digital channels is crucial. I think so. The kind of, as I'm kind of wrapping up now, so the big thing here with physical, it's one thing to take a space, it's one thing to get the keys, but you have to make it work. And just like everything, you can't expect to take the keys, pop some product in, and away you go. You're going to make millions. It doesn't work like that. You might get lucky, but the reality is the preparation, the marketing, the time you put in is what is that's how you're going to reap the rewards. We see this a lot at LDC. The brands that do the best with us are the brands that put huge amount of effort into, they follow the marketing guides. They ask us, what more can I give you so you can amplify or get me out there more? As opposed to us being like, please send us some content, please give us more information. because without the info, we can't amplify. And every opportunity you should be jumping on to get your brand out there. Preparation and planning is super key. You know, really thinking about what your goals are, what you're trying to achieve, what product, what are you going to test, what are you going to look at, what do you want to get from this, and planning it well. Am I going to do an event? How's it going to run? Who am I going to invite? How can I make it really successful? And then marketing. Use that community. Use that network. You know, if it's with us, use us in the store as much as you can. We love to be pestered. We're sick of pestering. It's, you know, and I don't know if any of the team's on the call, but the amount of times we're like, please send us this. You know, make it easy for everyone to cross, you know, to market you and to get your info out there. And use your community, your own network. Like I said earlier, you bring them in, and all the other brands are too. That's a huge amount of people. You know, we're talking kind of 800K plus Instagram followers that are being told the same message that have the potential to come to that store. That's major. The other thing is, I get this a lot is, oh, I put it on my Instagram, or I posted some stuff, and I was like, and it's like, they do, you know, a brand may post once and the store's in 6 weeks, and then it's a 2-week store. No one has heard that. Nobody thinks you're shouting. In fact, nobody's seen it. You may have got, I don't know, a bunch of likes, but it's nothing. I think sometimes as designers and as brands, we think we're shouting so much. The reality is nobody can hear us. Times it by 10 and wait for somebody to tell you it's too much, because often we're really just not putting enough out there. And I think the big thing is just what you put in, you'll get back. I cannot guarantee it's always sales, but you'll get something back. It's probably incredible feedback and learnings. And that has to be the way up of this, is that sales are great and super important, but there's so much more to physical experiences, you know, than just making that quick cash flow. And I think that's really important, to outline what your goals are across that physical activation as a whole. And remember that anybody coming through those doors, even if they haven't bought, that's the opportunity to get them to follow you on Instagram, to give them one of your flyers, to tell them your story. That is the potential of building a long-term customer relationship. Coming in for that quick transaction, that quick buy, that's not going to necessarily build you that lifetime customer. So it's not the worst thing if they don't buy at that time, but it's important that that relationship is built. These are just a couple of things that we always say, you know, as a little checklist, like, you know, have you really been telling all your followers about what to expect in the store? Have you posted on social media? Are you generating cross marketing? I'm not going to go into this because I feel like we've covered. And then sell well. I just thought this was really sweet. This is what one of our store managers puts in when she talks to the brands about what the customer journey looks like in store. And I just think it's really good. There's so many different, you know, ways you can map that customer journey. We do a lot of work onto how do you do it to effectively bring them in. And I think, you know, the real goal here is that everyone that walks to that door, they can leave with something. It doesn't have to be a product, but it can at least be a flyer, and it can at least be an Instagram follow. And that is the first touch point to potentially a really long relationship with a customer. And that should always be something in the back of your mind. Of course, we want to get them to the till, but, you know, there are other ways we can really use those relationships. So this is I think this is my last slide. Yes. Okay. Finally got there. Oh God, I've really gone over. So this is just my final kind of point. I like to kind of end something like this with just a bit of a kind of, you know, go-to-market strategy. And this is how I approach it and recommend all brands approach it. Start with your analytics. What is your data saying? What is the analytics? What is the feedback saying? Is everyone, you know, do you feel like you've got a very specific pool of customers, I don't know, in London, and they're, and I don't know, and if you're looking at e-com only, what does that existing insight tell you? Because that's the first place to start. And then who is the specific customer that you're going to target? Because if you're considering physical, it is important to look at the different locations and the demographics. We do a lot of research, past pop-ups, but also future and current, into what is the customer of an area, because it does change. It is different across the board. London is extremely diverse and has many different pockets of customers. And it's important that you're in the right one. And then goals. You know, sit down and write those goals, obviously sales, but what else do you want to achieve? Are you looking to get feedback on a new collection? Are you looking because you want to build up press and media presence, in which case you use the space to bring those people in, and you never know, they also may become customers. And then I always recommend start small and build up. You don't have to do a full-on pop-up. You don't have to do an own brand store. Be really strategic with where you put your money, where you put your time, and foolproof it. You should be planning and doing everything you can so it's least cost effective. So you'll make a return, you'll be able to learn, and then you can double down on that next time. So you're essentially creating a very, as foolproof as possible plan of making this work. And then finally, prepare and plan well. Use the partners that you're working with. Take those cross-marketing opportunities. Do what you can to make the most of the space and the time that you have. And that's me. So I went way over 10 minutes, but I'm happy to stay if there are questions. But we'll see how thorough I was. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen if anyone has any questions. How do I do this? Oh, yeah. Does anyone have any questions? Maybe not. Maybe I was really, maybe I just covered all bases.
You were very thorough.
That's good. I like to be thorough.
I have a quick question. What kind of, what can people look at? I know obviously every place is different, but like for pop-ups, what sort of pricing would people be looking at? And do you normally pay like a rent fee to be there plus commission, or how does it normally work with you guys in comparison to others, if you know?
Yeah, so we do flat fee and commission. The flat fee covers things like rent and all of that. This is the thing with physical. You do have obviously costs to cover. If you take over a space yourself, it depends where you're looking, but you are looking at, again, it depends where you're going to go, but some of these central London units will be kind of 20, 30K plus for a month, which is a lot. This is one of the reasons that now is actually a really good time, is you have high negotiating power with landlords, with any platforms, with anything. So it is a really good time to kind of consider trying physical. The way we do it is we essentially have flat fees. So it's $350 a week for accessories and $400 for clothing. And that basically for us covers all the rent, all the kind of setup, the set design, furniture, everything like that. You can, and like I said, these are things you can do yourself if you want to go own brand, but the costs can mount up. So it's obviously better to go with somebody, especially someone who's just done it before, for that peace of mind. And then we take 10% commission. And again, we try and keep this really low. It's a good way for our staff and our teams to have skin in the game, and to feel like, they really want to, I know they do, they will really want to hit those target numbers, but it's a good way to kind of incentivize. Brilliant. Thank you.
I also have a question. Hi, everyone. Hi, Rebecca. Thank you so much for the insight to us. My question really is with regards to Christmas. So yes, whether you guys have a plan in place for key locations, especially things like Covent Garden and whatnot, and what that plan currently looks like and how soon we should start thinking about getting involved.
Yeah, so Christmas is a good one. We do. So we have everything mapped out for the rest of the year. We have a calendars page on our website. It's not the easiest to find because it is a customer facing page. And it's usually done by contacting the team. So if you go into the footer, it says, if you go to, I think it's stock with us, and then there's a calendar there which you can see everything. Otherwise, just drop the team a note. Christmas is a tricky one, and you do need to plan very far in advance. We will be doing a talk on preparing for Christmas in terms of physical and digital in the next couple of months, just because I do recommend you start thinking about this by August, September. You definitely need to have your plans sorted. Not only to space fill up fast, but it's really important to heavily get on the marketing early on. You've also got the challenges with digital e-commerce deliveries and whatnot, which are always annoying. So the sooner you can kind of wrap up your plans, the better. We usually do. So the other thing for Christmas that we've seen, or in terms of kind of our insights, is you have to focus on gifting. we tend to dial down on the events and experiences for the bigger ones and focus on smaller kind of workshops and gifting stores. That's where the majority of the sales come from. So, I mean, depends on your brand, but really start focusing now on what is the percentage of your range that is more gift focused, is essentially ideally under £100, that's going to really suit specific customers for gifting.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm in candles, so definitely.
Oh, you're fine.
Really
yeah.
That time. But I guess my question was, do you guys have a plan locked for which locations you're going to be? And
yes.
are those disclosed? So those are disclosed in the calendar on the website, did you say?
Yeah, they'll be on the website. They probably won't have the address yet because Alice tends to release those a couple of months out, but they will be soon. We'll have it all done by the end of August at the latest.
Okay, amazing. Thank you.
Any other questions?
There's another question in the chat. I'll read it out. Any advice as to how to get a customer from I'm just looking to purchasing product after welcoming them into the store?
Yeah, you get this a lot, don't you? I mean, I think the first thing here is that, and again, as I've kind of touched on, if a customer coming in, it's great if they buy, and obviously that's what you want to push for. But if not, they need to at least leave with, whether it's a leaflet or a flyer, a follow on Instagram or something. The best way to do this, honestly, is to just start building a really human, personal relationship with that customer. It can be tricky. Some customers are super frosty, and they just want to, they'll say, "I'm just browsing. I don't want anything." Especially older customers, but there's no reason why you can't use a little bit of small talk. Just potter around. I haven't been in the store in a long time, but I was actually a couple of weeks ago, and I mean, it changes as well what you say. I always talk about the weather. I talk about like little things that just start to break that ice. I think it can be really tricky if a customer doesn't want to feel intimidated, right? They're going to a shop and they're like, I'm just looking, because they feel like the sales associate is going to jump on them and basically start pushing them to buy. But if you can kind of leave them alone a little bit, let them kind of mooch around, and then just say, oh, comment on maybe something they're looking on and say, oh, those have just come in. Aren't they amazing? The design is actually incredible. And see what they pick up on, because you'll notice their kind of eyes will light up at something you say, or they won't. When their eyes do light up, when they're like, oh, you might say, oh, they've actually just flown this morning. They came from this amazing brand in Colombia. They hand weave all of them. And if you get a response that's like, oh, that's where you can continue and keep the conversation going, because obviously touched on something interesting. Then your job is to basically keep, you can go over, show them, talk a little bit more about it, bring over other things, just really gently, just share that brand story. It all starts with storytelling. Stories sell, not products alone. Of course, if you get the opposite and you get and they just don't want to talk to you, then that's where you can, or what I always go down the route of talking about something completely different. If it's raining, talk about the weather. We're all British, or most people, the chances right now that they're British, I love talking about the weather. For some reason it puts them at peace. So, talk a little bit about that as a little segue and see what they say. But basically, you just want to gently start getting little nuggets of information about them, but sharing nuggets about the brands and about what you're doing. We always kind of lead with, if they're looking at a product, it'll be talking a little bit about that, but usually try and weave in, these are all small independent brands, really focusing on sustainability and ethics. This brand in particular does this, but it's all about these little stories. And just start telling them a story. Start sharing that brand or that product story, and just let them kind of, hopefully their eyes will light up and you'll get something, but avoid the hard sell. I've had situations before, I've had really cold, difficult customers come in and you think, oh my gosh, this is, I don't know, should I just go stand on the back? And, you feel it's kind of the other way around, where you feel really intimidated. But, slowly you'll start to kind of break down those barriers, and you'll, end up, I've had customers there that have been like 2-3 hours left with heaps of stuff, or, maybe not left with anything, but they've come back the next day because, like, what, you actually, that story you told me about that brand, I can't stop thinking about it, I'm coming back. And they do come back. So it's all about planting those little nuggets, those little stories, and just using a conversation and storytelling to bring somebody into your world. Don't treat it like you're selling a transaction. You're bringing somebody into your world, into your journey, into your vision, or whatever it is, whether or not you're the designer or you're just part of the store, whatever it is. And then the big thing is, don't let them leave without anything. A flyer doesn't cost them anything. A quick follow on Instagram doesn't cost them anything. Sign up to your mailing list. You'll get them to that point through these little stories and these little conversations. But don't be disheartened if they don't buy, because they have the potential to come back. If they had a great experience talking to you and they go and tell their friends, that's potentially 5 more people that will come in, or that's, it's really spreading that way. Word of mouth marketing is huge right now. There's been a lot of articles recently about the value in it. So I would always focus on that side as opposed to the quick sale. I hope that kind of helps.
Very helpful for me anyway. I enjoyed it. Has anyone got any other last questions? I'm aware that it's now 5 o'clock.
Hi, thanks for the talk. I just have a quick question. What kind of length of time do you think makes for a good pop-up? Because you obviously said you want to have and create that sense of urgency. We're here for a limited time. So yeah, where's the kind of balance in that, do you think?
Yeah, this is a really good question. So we've tried, so we do 2 weeks LDC. That for us is the optimum. The big thing here is that you don't want a lull. And this can be sometimes the danger or the challenges with having a store that's longer than, I don't know. I know a lot of people will do 3 months, but you do get a dip. I like to eliminate those dips. So it's just a constant, you've just got that constant excitement. So it's really tricky. 2 weeks for us is the optimum because of this. We don't get a lull in the middle. Always avoid a lull, ideally. We've tried a month. We've tried longer. We've tried shorter than 2 weeks. And we just found that 2 weeks means you get a good start, you get a really steady and great center, and you get a great end. The beginning and the end will always be your most exciting because you've just launched. There's reason for someone to go. They've just opened. I'm going to get in. Before you leave, it's crap. If I don't go, they're going to go. I won't have had a chance to go. So do what you can to avoid the middle dip. But it depends on what you're doing. Because the reason that 2 weeks works for us is because of the amount of brands and because of the events and what we're putting on. If you're one brand on your own, you could do less. I would always at least do a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 100%, because each of those days, for us, those are the most crucial days. Mondays can also be a really great day, but they're a slightly more serious shopper. A bit more of a working professional who will come in, who may have seen the store and then come in and drop more money. Or Monday can sometimes be our best day, but it's a very much fewer people basically. So Thursday to Sunday are 100% super key. Thursday is your opening. It has to be. Thursday is the day to open. Don't do it on a Friday. Friday should then be a good day bouncing off the back of the Thursday. People that couldn't come to the opening are around, work in the area, whatever. Saturday should be your best day. People that are out, you got your passers-by, you got shopping bags around, great day. Sunday, again, probably slightly quieter, but again, really important to catch those that didn't come Saturday. And again, the people mooching about. You need those days. Anything either side of that, it will totally depend on what you're doing in your business. But I would start there.
Thank you.
No worries. I've just seen Holly's note. I try to look at customers as potential friends as well as people who purchase. Yeah, exactly. Treat everyone like you're like a friend. That's a great way to look at it. Any more questions, or shall we wrap up?
Maybe we should wrap up.
I think so. Okay.
That was good. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Really
Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.